truth, and life. Here is the Brother Leon Show. You better recognize.
What's going on, listeners? This is your boy, Brother Leon, and you are tuning into another episode of the Brother Leon Show. So let's go on in here. Yeah, man, we are going to talk about sex today. I think the one thing that I want you guys to understand and know is that God has made us sexual beings. And a lot of times, man, we take and we get frustrated in church because our sexuality is starting to manifest, and we try to call it the devil. We try to cast it out. We try all types of things to repress that sexual urge that a lot of times wants to manifest itself. But a lot of times I look at it like this: you got to embrace who you are sexually. Because regardless, even in church, you got to see the person that got a whole lot of babies. And you also have to understand that even when we go to our altars, a lot of times it's about sexual issues and sexual matters. So we can sit up here and say, Lord, help me, cast this devil out of me. But a lot of times it's like, no, you need to embrace it, understand it, maybe get some therapy if you are having a negative thirst. But the one thing about it is that that's how God made us. But the crazy thing about it is that when it comes to the narrative of sex, we've allowed everybody to tell the narrative, change the narrative, instead of us controlling the narrative. The preachers tell us that it's dirty, so we believe that it's dirty. The preachers tell us that we're going to get a demon, and we believe that, and we in fear because of certain things. But the one thing that I want you to do today, this evening, is that you will not be in fear tonight, because we are going to talk about sex toys. We're going to talk about oral sex. We're going to talk about anal sex, because the one thing that I want you guys to understand and walk away with is that there is freedom, and you are called to be free sexually in the name of Jesus. So as a Christian, you have to embrace your sexuality. As a Christian, you have to also understand what the Bible says and what the Bible don't say. And there are some things that you have to make a decision about in your life, in your relationships, even in your marriages. You have to decide that. Don't let nobody put fear into you for wanting to bless your husband or wanting to bless your wife, because the Bible don't say nothing about oral sex. That's the God knows truth. But you got preachers that will condemn it. You got preachers that will say all types of stuff. Ooh, that's an abomination. That's what homosexual people do. But the crazy thing about it, the Bible says that there is no fear in love. And perfect love casts out fear. So you can't allow somebody to take and make you scared about what you do in your bedroom, because what you do in your bedroom is your business and your business alone. It ain't your pastor's business. And I want you guys to get out of the notion that that is how we have to be. So today we have a panel of guests, a phenomenal panel of guests, and we are going to take it there. We got questions. So, hey, I want you, man, come on over to Clubhouse, and we're going to go in here. And that's the God knows truth. So we're going to be starting in a few moments. Let me go to Miss Belize Spivey. Miss Belize Spivey, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Belize Spivey. I am known as the STD life coach. I'm the only one, y'all. You probably never heard of it. It's because I created it. So everyone's like, what? I've never heard of it. No, I created it because I ended up finding out I had herpes about 11 years ago, jumped on herpes, and I didn't see any black women. I didn't see anybody black, and they saying we number one. And I know it's happening in the community, and we're pretty hush-hush when it comes to STIs. So I decided to be the face of it, to support people, to make sure they get everything they need, mostly psychological support. I have a background in counseling, so that's what I did. And I've been loving it, been doing it for 6 years now. You can follow me on Instagram at Coach Belief, and then you can go to my website, www.stdlifecoach.com. I have a YouTube channel with over 300 videos. So I have everything you need about herpes if you need any support.
All right. Thank you for that. Let me give you some applause. All right. coming to the mic, we have Miss Joy Atlantis. Miss Joy, can you introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joy Atlantis. I have a dual life, so I'm known in two worlds. In the business world, I am a fixer as a consultant on both the public and private sector. And in the entertainment world, the media world, I am a new author. I have a book called The Goddess Journal Dysfunction. And I believe I was invited into this room because my book talks about a woman's journey and her path through discovering herself, but she does it in a very unique way through sex, through her partnerships with the men in her life. So have a lot of things to say, a lot of things to contribute. You guys can find me on all of the social media platforms under Joy Atlantis. So if you follow me here on Clubhouse, you'll see the links to those places.
All right. Thank you for that, Miss Joy. All right. Next, coming to the stage, we have Dr. Danny. Dr. Danny, could you please talk to us? Sir, introduce yourself.
What's going on? Thank you for having me. Sir. I am Dr. Danny Lee Harris. A man of many hats. I'm an author. I am a life coach, retired police officer. I am a business owner and a nonprofit owner as well. But what I do right now mainly is I am a life coach, relationship coach. And we talk about how to be true to oneself so that you can be true to your partner.
All right.
You can find me on the metamorphosisdoctor.com. The metamorphosisdoctor.com. Also, my link tree is on that website where you can find me, and all my other social media connections is on that link tree as well.
All right. Thank you for that, Doc. I so appreciate you. All right. Next, we have coming my man Rasan RL on Facebook. Man, I so appreciate this dude because he's the realest dude that I see on these social media streets. So, hey, introduce yourself, sir.
Big brother Leon, you too kind. So I'm RL Rasan. Follow me on social media. I'm kind of old, so I'm not in too many platforms. Like I'm Prometheus too on Twitter. So yeah, a lot about me and not a lot about me. I'm just a free spirit. I like to learn from people. I like interacting with people. I'm very opinionated on everything, and yet I'm willing to say I know nothing. So I love people and I love interacting. So let's do it.
All right, thank you for that. All right, we have coming to the stage Miss Eden Adele. Miss Eden Adele, can you introduce yourself?
Good evening, good people. My name is Eden Adele, and I am an author, a speaker, a media guest. My topic du jour is relationships for people over 40 who are often having emptiness and full heart. And I love talking about stuff like this, so I really appreciate you inviting me to share this platform with you all tonight. And I got my brown liquor poured, so let's get started.
Hey, Miss Eden, before we start, how can people follow you?
You can find me on Facebook mostly, and also on Instagram. Both linked in my bio here. And I also have a website, getbacktopassion.com.
All right, thank you for that. So, I just want to thank all of my guests for coming on here. My name is Brother Leon. I'm a podcaster. I call myself a secular minister. I tend to cuss a little bit, but I don't curse. I don't curse people's lives, meaning basically I want you to have negativity and you want to go to hell and everything you try to do ain't going to prosper. That's not me. But I will cuss a little bit to try to shake you so that you can see reality. I have a podcast show called The Brother Leon Show. We deal with issues of religion, politics, the black church, pop culture. We do it all. And then we have Truth and Life Urban Ministry. So that is a place that is the religious platform. It's a church, an urban church, that is basically geared towards activists and faith combining. So you can catch us any place that you get your podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter. You can also follow me on Facebook as well. So with that being said, let us go into these questions. And that's the God knows truth, because tonight we're going to talk about it. We're going to definitely talk about this whole thing with sex, the taboo around it, also, with some of the things connected to religion, because there are certain taboos even in religion when it comes to sex. So we're going to cover that tonight as well. So let's go with the first question. The first question is, why is sex taboo in certain communities? Why is it, certain things that we do, certain things that we practice sexually, why is that taboo in certain communities, like the church community? So somebody who's willing to talk to me. Who wants to take that question, that first one?
I'll start it.
Okay. Miss E, go ahead, talk to us.
Yes, this whole idea of taboo in certain communities has to go all the way back to, actually it predates organized religion. It's this idea of control, basically.
Okay.
Where somebody is supposed to be in control of our urges and appetites and how we choose to express them. It's a form of managing a household, managing a family, managing a society. Go to something as basic as someone's sexual identity, sexual expression, and you have literally just gone to the survival things that people do. Is just past food and water. Sex is pretty much just past food and water. So if you can control somebody at that basic of a level, then it's much easier to control other aspects of their lives. And so if you tie some sort of idea that you might displease God or even please God by what you do with your body and how that feels to you, then it's much easier to control people in other ways as well.
Yeah, you're right about that. Because even when you go into the Christian aspect of it, there's certain things that are definitely taboo, even in church. Like the whole notion of oral sex, that is taboo in church, because I've heard ministers say that if you get into that oral sex, you're gonna get you a sucking demon. I've also heard ministers I've heard ministers say that God did not ordain for man to put his mouth on the sewer system of the body. I've heard that. I'm serious. I have heard that. And so it's like, okay, so you telling me I ain't supposed to do this, I ain't supposed to do that. So what am I supposed to do?
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that one up specifically, because, why are we talking? This is just you and me and these walls. Why are we talking? I think one of the main reasons why there's so much taboo around oral sex, particularly, is because it was, I think it was so pleasurable for so many men that they kind of, all of that logic and reason that they're so proud of normally in other aspects of their lives, all of that goes out the window as soon as you put it on them real good.
Yeah.
And because of that, just like all other aspects of sex relative to how women affect men, how men are affected by our fragrance, our softness, our curvature, all of those things that are traditionally and definitely feminine and opposite of what men are, that triggers their sexual response on this basic, primal, instinctive level. You're wired to respond to us that way. It's not an accident. It's anatomical to a great degree.
Yeah.
It's reinforced in society. It's reinforced in culture. I'm not denying that. But there is an anatomical element to all of it. Your response to us and its intensity is programmed into you.
Yeah.
And so to a great degree, you feel out of control of it.
Yeah.
And that part of it, you are out of control. How your body responds to us is pretty much out of your control. I mean, nobody wills an orgasm.
Yeah.
An orgasm is reflex. You can want it or not want it, but with the right stimulation, it's going to happen, whether you want it or you don't want it. So there is a serious anatomical consideration here. And because of that, because they couldn't separate the fact that there is this undeniable bodily response, there was an accompanying emotional response that they also felt out of control of. That part was a lie, because you're always in control of that.
Yeah.
You're always in control of how you respond to any given situation.
Yeah.
But they felt out of control because their bodies were doing something that they hadn't consented to, didn't agree to. It just kind of happened. And so they assigned the thoughts and the feelings that followed that the same significance. And they felt like they couldn't control that, so they had to control her. And that's where you get these societies and these cultures where women are covered up from head to toe. Women are forbidden from doing any number of things, exposing elbows, exposing wrists or ankles. You can't see. All of these restrictions are impositions on women.
Yeah.
Because men are not required to control their responses to their urges.
Okay.
And oral sex is one of those things that can trigger this out of control, disproportionate response.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that, especially in those restrictive kinds of culture, it's not something that happens on a regular basis. So they don't have a lot of experience controlling it, or controlling their response to it, or controlling any of their bodily functions relative to sex.
Okay. So we had to put,
so when they have them, they're overwhelming.
Okay. So it's almost like you're saying, because we can't control it, let's put a religious spin on it to try to make people afraid and try to use religion and God to control it. And we'll give them all types
Absolutely.
of falsehoods and hypocrisies. Because here's the one thing that I've seen, even in Africa, because in Africa, I don't know if it was Africa or Brazil, this guy, he made social media because he was having women, perform oral sex on him because he was telling people that his semen was blessed.
I saw that. That was I think that's
that story.
Did you see that story?
South Africa. Yeah,
you saw that story?
Yeah.
So here it is. You got one contrast. Yeah, it was on Facebook. So you got one contrast. You telling me don't do it because I'm gonna get a sucking demon, but you got a pastor that's saying that his semen is blessed.
Can I ask a question? Because some of you guys have identified with the, when I say religious, I mean Christian background.
Yeah.
So I'm going to caveat with what Sister Ian has said. I think a lot of things come from anything that puts a religious spin on something. At the core of it all is about control, because at the core of Western religion is God, right?
Yeah.
So God is one of those concepts, not who God is, but the concept of God is pretty much above reproach. You just have to accept certain things as is. So, to someone who's not well versed in their faith, if I say God said it, then that's kind of like the argument is done, because how can you really argue with God? Which I think that's where some of the rules come in, because, but then again, if you read any religious text, I don't think there's any, I can't find through my Quran, my Torah, my Bible, my Mormon Bible, I don't see anything where they ever talk about the act of sex other than homosexuality and sex without a marriage. Everything else is kind of like left to the imagination. But you'll see in some religions where, like, for example, in Islam you have what the Quran says, but then you've had a lot of throughout the centuries where people have added to it to kind of say, okay, well, the Prophet, peace and blessings upon him, have said this or meant this. However, it's all third person or second hand, because unless you ask the person who said it, really, so there's a lot of improv there. And I think it does come down to whatever recluse I have, or whatever reservations I have about sexuality, I can then put that upon somebody else. And like we've seen with the brother in Africa, or I can use my powers for bad and I can flip this. Because again, I think, so now here's where the Buddhist comes in me. So simple answer for Buddhism, all things in moderation, right? If something is a problem for you, then you have a responsibility as an adult to limit yourself on that. But to say that it is bad because it's bad for you is not your cause. So, for example, with respect to how you engage in sexual activity, if you have a partner that is okay with the things, with the expression and the reception, then you don't need permission from some cosmic figure, or let alone another human who has been kind of ordained to watch over you and police your behaviors.
Exactly. Let me give you some applause. Exactly. That right there. That right there. I love it. Can you say that again?
What part? So all things in moderation. So when it comes to sexual activity for receiving and giving, it's what two consenting adults are into. If something's not for you, then it's not for you. But nobody on this planet has been ordained to give you to say what is considered good or not good.
Exactly.
I know I said it the first time, but we should have recorded. I should have wrote it down.
Yeah, but you also said ain't no cosmic entity saying that it ain't good or bad either.
Yeah, no, really.
Yeah.
So some of that then comes down to somebody. So let's be honest here. And again, I don't want to offend anybody who might be more religious than me, but a lot of religion does come down to control. Because that's why a lot of religion has a rank structure. Like I told you, I grew up Catholic. We got the ultimate rank. I think we got the monopoly on rank structure. We got a dude that charged as supposedly gets his knowledge from Peter as the first bishop. Like Jesus' right-hand man passed down all these rules that somehow only the Pope has access to 2,000 years after Christ has lived, right? Which is kind of like, wait a minute. There's been tons of books written. I get it in 700 AD, maybe only 2 people could read, but we all got Google now. But the tenets of this say that only this guy is able to speak on behalf of what Peter said, who died roughly 20 years after Jesus Christ died. You see what I'm saying? So at what point are you saying, hey, listen, man, that's a lot of power there. And then under the Pope, you have cardinals, bishops. Yeah. And you have so it's like, I was in the military for 22 years, so I'm familiar with chain of command. But, you have like this rank structure. And then in the Catholic faith, it's all men. So right now, you're going to see any kind of rules that kind of place binds upon women. There's a bunch of men telling you this. Again, I'm not the vein of this discussion wasn't to kind of put religion out there, but there comes a line where it says, men and women can make great assumptions about each other, but women need to speak for women issues and men need to speak for men issues. And I know that might not be the 2021 gender neutral safe word, but that's kind of the answer. Like, I can give anecdotal evidence what I think a woman should do, but I've never put my pants on in the morning as a woman, so I don't understand the nuances associated with being a female. And there's a lot more to it than just reading a book. So when it starts talking about how a female should naturally express her sexuality, I can say, hey, I don't think this is a good look, but it really don't matter what the hell I think.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Because at the end of the day, I mean, women's bodies are their bodies. Their choices are their choices. And I don't believe it's up for us as men to try to tell women what they should do and everything like that, how they should act. And I totally put that on women. I'm like, hey, that's all you guys. If it's going to change, it's going to change because of you. So, does anybody else want to pick up? Anybody else want to pick up on this? Go ahead.
Let the Council of Sisterhood come together, put a book out, say this is conduct acceptable to females, and then as a man, I'll say, hey, look, enough women have said this, and this is what we should do. But a bunch of dudes talking about you shouldn't enjoy oral sex, giving or receiving, because you're a female, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. All I know is I'm like, man, please. I look at it like that. If she can bless us with it, if they bless us with it, I'm like, yo, good. Like I love what you said. I love what you said because I'm just imagining, yo, Jesus kicking down the door. Don't you be sucking on that dick? I'm like, man, please, Jesus ain't did that. Jesus ain't did
in
that.
the world.
Jesus,
That visual is just too much for me.
I'm done with you. Hey, Brother Leon. Brother Leon. Lord have mercy. Hey, Brother Leon.
Yeah.
You brought something real to this. Nowhere, if you follow the New Testament, Christ gave 1,000 messages about how to love your neighbor, how to treat one another, but he never talked about conduct in the bedroom. Now, you can go back to the Old Testament in Deuteronomy and Leviticus and talk about where the religious tribe of Israel kind of put some rules on how some conduct for the Jews to distance themselves from the Egyptians. But in terms of what Christ said, he never talked about in the New Testament how men and women should express love.
Yeah, exactly.
He did say,
I have a question as a non-Christian.
Yeah.
How much of the taboos around sex in Christianity stem from the idea that Jesus was birth of a virgin mother and he himself never had any sexual relations?
Talk that talk.
Yeah, talk it out. Talk it out because
Listen, I've done my studies, but as I'm not a Christian, I don't practice, I don't claim to be, but I just wanted to, I know you have a list of questions that you're going to present, but I'm thinking like that, the control and the misunderstandings and the lack of knowledge in different spaces just about our bodies as a whole, how much of that stems from that concept and that idea that is, throughout the Christian world?
All of it.
Yeah.
That is a good question.
All of it, because it's like we
Joy always comes through with that good word.
Oh yeah, she does. because here's the thing, it's all of it because we can't imagine Jesus. We only see certain humanistic aspects of Jesus. When we see Jesus' humanity, we see him weeping and everything like that. But then when it comes to how Jesus really came on the scene, I mean, yeah, we talk about the virgin birth, so we can't even associate sexuality with our Savior because we feel as though that, oh, nah, man, Jesus ain't like that. But the Bible says in the New Testament that he is easily touched with the feelings of our infirmities sometimes. He knows how we feel. So I look at it like this. I'm like, if there was ever a person who understands my frustration, it would definitely be him. Because we see, not only his example as Savior, but we also see his example as a human, as a man. So I look at it like this, man. God gives us all things richly to enjoy. So if my wife want to hook me up and I want to hook my wife up, man, please, that's God's will in action. And so I'm like, man, if Jesus ain't kicking down the door talking about, get that dick out your hand, ain't no preacher in the world should be saying, yo, stop. I'm telling you, because it's like you have so many preachers that go beyond what God has said. And then you got to look at the aspect. It's their personal conviction. It's their personal theology. It's their personal belief system. And that's why a lot of people are jacked up, because people don't read, and also people don't even decide for themselves. I'm serious. I'm serious. And I'm going to be transparent. I had the issue of oral sex in my house, almost messed my house up. Because, there were ministers who were saying that if you get into oral sex, if you get into anal sex, that you're going to go to hell. And my question is, how is it that I can go to hell being married and being faithful? Now, granted, I get the whole aspect of fornication and everything like that. But the Bible says that it's better to marry than to burn. Messed my whole house up. Because my wife was saying, well, we can't be doing that because, I don't want to go to hell. But the crazy thing about it is that the argument was because this person was an apostle. This person had a title. And because that person had a title, I was powerless to go against them because they had a title and it was in church that they said it. And this person is very, almost like a celebrity when it comes to the church scene. And so, even though I went through the scriptures, still wasn't believed by my wife, concerning everything that I was saying. And it took another person with another title to get that thing to change because she believed it because of the title on their life. And so I wrote a book called Let No Man Put Asunder, Kick the Clergy Out Your Bedroom, because there should be no title outside your house should be able to come into your house and dictate what happens in your bedroom and everything. And I mean, it was crazy because it was like, Dad, these people don't even live in my house. They don't even pay not near one daggone bill. I'm like, hold up, this nigga done got my shit all fucked up. That's what I was saying. I was like,
well, you know, there's a whole lot of times Pastor what's his name outranks the husband in the household of many.
Exactly. And let me just say this. I was like, I know this nigga ain't talking. I was like, on any given day, somebody will suck his dick. I'm serious.
That's a different room, Leon. That's a different room.
Fam, that's a whole nother conversation for another room.
If I showed you a picture of him, you'd be like, oh yeah, I can see people. I'm like, man, please. It be gay and straight people want to suck this nigga's dick. Seriously.
If anybody had the demon, it was him. But that's a different room.
But I was just thinking to myself, like, hold up, this dude don't even know us, and he got us all jacked up. So I said, man, I was either going to go on Facebook Live or I was going to do something, but I was like, I'll put it in a book. And now the book is on Amazon, and the book has gotten me places where I thought that I would never be, and meeting people that I thought that I would never meet, because of the book. I went to Virginia, had a book fair, and if it wasn't for me meeting Alicia Bennett, I probably wouldn't know Joy Atlantis. I probably wouldn't know Eden Adele. I probably wouldn't know, Dr. Danny Harris because of the book. And so I thank God for the experience, because the experience allowed me to meet other people. And so I'm thankful. So, yeah, let's go on in here, guys. Anybody want, platform? Because I know I done said some stuff, and the cussing is already coming out because I'm real passionate about stuff like this.
I think you got some brown drinks too.
Oh yeah.
You over there drinking?
No. I wish I did have. No, if I was going to do, I call this the white liquor night. I would have some. Grey Goose. I would have some Grey Goose and cranberry.
Hey, can I ask y'all a question real quick before we get on off topic? And this is more geared for people who identify Christian in this room.
Yeah.
Do you believe that it is possible for, like, I guess what you call a sucking demon, or some sort of like some sort of evil apparition to manifest itself in your relationship to cause you to do harm? Because in the Buddhist tenet of the word, we don't make any differences between good or bad.
Right.
The term itself is relative to the situation, right? In the society. So because we don't put that rule out there that something is good or bad, it's more what was the intent behind it? So there's no cosmic thing that you can say ruined your marriage. Because we say, no, your own weakness and your inability to get a hold of your own addictions or vices is what ruined your marriage. But again, I don't want to seem like, well, I don't quite get it. So I do want to understand, like, is there a belief through the accepted Christian view that, yeah, man, your relationship can be, I guess, disarrayed because of outside forces that you brought in because you're a little bit of a freak.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing with that.
Let me take that, Leon, when you finish, man.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. And I ain't gonna lie. I think a lot of times we blame, the so-called devil because of our lack of wanting to work, or we blame the devil on certain things when it comes to our marriages. And a lot of times I look at it like this: it's about belief. So if you believe that the devil can tear your stuff up, or if you believe that certain manifestations can come through in apparitions and demons and things like that, then that is what will happen. Because the one thing about the Bible is this, is that beliefs, if you believe it, then it'll come to pass. And so I say that about God. I say that about the devil, and I try my best to really not give that type of energy over to that, because where the focus goes, the energy flows. And I try to make sure that my belief is totally on God, totally on myself, and I have to know that there are certain things that I have to work. Now, granted, it's certain things I'm not going to bring into my house. Like, I'm not going to bring, pornography into my house because I don't want my wife or significant other thinking that they got to compete with that. Because it's some women who are in Christian households, their husbands love pornography. They ain't going to admit they have a porn addiction. And some of these women feel like that they have to compete with that. And I'm like, nah, you ain't got to compete with that. That's just him. That's just something that he does. So you need to take yourself out of the equation with that. But it's a whole lot that has to do with belief. So I'm done with that. Dr. Danny, talk to me.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I think that's a really loaded comment that my brother just said a little while ago.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to this. You got to remember where you stem from, where you come from. We was clean slates when we came into this world. And the only thing we're made up of is experiences, things we've seen, and even our belief system is built and based on what has been dumped into us. It is not until you, as a man or a woman, grow up, and I mean, when I say grow up, I mean spiritually. This has nothing to do with religion at this point. Spiritually grow up into your I am. Who are you? The authenticity of who you are. Can you then understand what it is that you need to undump? So a lot of things that we do, and a lot of things that we have beliefs in, even the structures of our families, is what we viewed and what has been dumped into us. Most of it is not even who you really are. Until you understand how to find who you really are, then you can start to make the 1, 2, 3s and the ABCs of your life and make that make sense. Therefore, the apostle, the pastor, the preacher, the brother, and the deacon in them can't come into your house and govern your house. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, thank you for that. Let me give you some applause, Doc. Let me give you some applause, Rashawn, for that. Hey, thank you. So because we done been over here. No, I want to talk about the whole thing about oral, because the crazy thing about it is that it's so much taboo about it, even in the secular world. And it's like, you can't. It's almost like, it's just certain things around oral that you are not supposed to do, because there's some people think that oral sex is foreplay, and then like Bill Clinton, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. She just sucked my dick. It's crazy, because it's like, okay, do we call oral sex? Is it foreplay? What is it? What's the taboo around it? Because it's like, okay, is it one of them type of deals where can you do it on the first date or what? I mean, talk to me, because there's so many taboos around it.
Let me swing the bat at that one real quick.
Yeah, all right,
it's
go ahead.
It's all the above you said. Depending on the context.
Okay.
Can it be foreplay? Yes. It can be like the appetizer on the meal, or sometimes that could be you can go to Fridays and be not really hungry and just say, look, I'm just gonna get the sliders. It could be, so that's your meal in and of itself. I think some of the secular taboos come with it because, again, for much of our history, when I say ours, I mean the U.S. history, sex was considered something you didn't talk about. Was it religious or not? No one talked about outside the home. So anything related to sex was seen as very trashy. And then when you start looking at the rules that go with oral sex, like, for example, the thought of nobody wants the thought of their for whatever reason, the fragility of a lot of men, they don't want to admit the fact that their wife did this to somebody else.
Yeah.
But that thing you like, more often than not, you didn't teach her.
Exactly.
So there's that comes with it, but I think so. It's all the above. It can be. So I tell people when I have a conversation and they say like, well, then what's considered cheating? Anything that you can't do with your spouse in a room, or anything that you have to either soften the blow or delete the conversation is cheating. Now that could be something from straight aggressive sex, and we don't talk about it, or it could be just a casual conversation, a flirt on somebody's Instagram.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe there's layers to what's considered like, yo, man, you was wrong, or come on, man, let that go. But when you start talking about what is considered taboo or not, or acceptable, like Bill Clinton cheated on his wife. He didn't get head with Hillary in the office. Yeah. He knew enough to know when he got caught he had to lie about it. Yeah. So, yeah, man, you knew you was wrong. Now, is that the worst thing somebody could do? That's where we start getting into how you perceive it. But anything you can't do with your significant other in the room, or anything you can't do knowing that you just can't do without offering a whole in-depth explanation, then it was wrong.
I totally agree with that. Let me also ask this: why is it that when it comes to oral sex, they say, "Ooh, man, good girls don't do that"? What's the whole thing with the good girl? Good girls don't do certain things. Can somebody answer
good
that?
girls are like.
I mean, that's probably
The good girls are the ones who do it.
yeah. I mean, it depends on the time frame you're talking about, right? So
Yeah.
I'm 43, and I remember just very distinctly my mom saying like they didn't do that. My mom is 70 years old, so in her time, you know, they were having a lot of sex. They allegedly weren't doing that. And nowadays, it's widely acceptable. Now, it may be some taboo.
I had a conversation with.
I'm sorry?
I was going to say, so I had a conversation with a family member, and I would say that oral sex was just invented like 20 years ago.
Right. Like I don't believe that, but, you know, it just depends on who you're talking to and what era they grew up in. You know, it a lot of the things that we frown upon, you know, in the 60s or the 70s is quite all right for us to do today. So, you know, even though, you know, I've grown up in religion and around religion and with discipline and all those things, I've only had one guy who said to me he did not like oral sex. He didn't like to receive or give. And I didn't stick around long enough to find out why. And I know he wasn't a very religious man, but that doesn't mean that his parents didn't kind of instill certain beliefs in him, or his church home instill beliefs in him. But I don't know why it's such an issue. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the thing is that what I've ran across is there are some people that don't like it because it's associated with traumatic experiences like molestation. So I've had to run across people who have been, you know, unfortunately they got molested early in life, and it's gotten them to the place where they're like, it's just certain sexual things that they just won't do, you know, because of that. So I totally...
Yeah, that's that trauma. That's that sex trauma. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I totally get all of that. So let me ask this question while we here. Why is it that some people feel as though that, yo, girl, you can do me, but I'm not doing you? Or vice versa? Or
Go
ahead.
That's just selfishness.
Because they want to be alone. That's why.
That is so selfish. I hate that.
Right.
Just say you don't know how to do it. Just say you ain't comfortable yet.
No, I think, and so in a lot of more traditional societies where you have like the rules for men and women are black and white and not able to be like loosely interpreted, like in a lot of the Caribbean, West Indian culture, there's this belief that West Indian men won't eat it, which is completely false if you've ever dated a West Indian man. But however, they talk really like in public, and I don't know, maybe that's their own shit about what they don't do or won't do. I think though, going back to what Joy said earlier, maybe it also has to do with certain levels of hygiene. I mean, 60 years ago, people didn't almost say, you know, hot water was a luxury in your home. Well, I'm going to say a little bit more than 60 years ago. We'll say like 100. So yeah, I'm probably not going to want to eat a whole lot of stuff and we ain't bathing every day.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where some of that came from, and it wasn't really based upon if you do this, you got to burn in hell now. It's just more like, yo, man, that's not nasty. That's fucking nasty, bro. Y'all been riding horses all day, hunting mammoths, and you want me to put my mouth on what? Nah. And then I think the good doctor did address something, which is a larger conversation. If there's been any sort of trauma associated with anything, it doesn't even have to be oral sex, but oftentimes a lot of people who were molested, that was how they were molested. That's a whole nother conversation, and we definitely don't want to make light of that because there's something with that right there. Yes, you're probably going to have some unhealthy relationships with sexual contact if your first time in the game was through a force of control or trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
I think that there's another consideration relative to this whole I'll do it, but I won't have it done to me or whatever. Especially in marriage. There is, a prevailing notion in this society that's been around for a very long time that's referred to as the Madonna whore syndrome, which is basically the idea that some women are the women that you marry, the women that you build your legacy with, the women who mother your children, the women that you more or less put on a pedestal. And that woman is pretty much asexual as well. I mean, she doesn't really have an independent sex drive of her own. She will submit to the desires of her husband as part of her wifely duties.
I don't want her.
But sex is primarily for her, for procreation, and for her husband's pleasure.
I don't want her.
So she's the one in that situation who is most likely to be the one performing and not getting it performed on her in return.
Yeah.
The whore, on the other hand, is the woman, of course, who's exemplified in porn. And she's open to everything and all things, and she is adept not only at giving pleasure, but receiving pleasure as well. And because we have this idea that these women, there are two types of women, we also have the idea that those women can never be the same woman.
Yeah.
That you can never have those sets of characteristics both present in the same woman. And that's where the marital conflict comes in.
Yeah.
Because if you marry somebody who is actually into it, then there's a question automatically of her character.
Yeah.
And her morality.
Yeah.
And how did you learn this? And why are you so good at this? And wait a minute, hold on. Wait a minute, you're just a little too good at this. I'm like craving it more than you're craving it. That's a problem because I'm not in control anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't mind springing you, but I'm not trying to get sprung.
Yeah.
The control issue reigns supreme.
Yeah.
So we're back to that again.
Hey, Doc, let me just say something. No, go ahead. Let me just say this, and then you go back in. I've heard that because I've heard, man, girl I was dating one time, and I was like, yo, let me hook you up, and then I hooked her up, and then she stopped me like right in the mix. She was like, no, I see what you're trying to do. You ain't gonna make me go crazy.
I'm saying. Listen, I didn't make this stuff up. I just report the news. I don't make it up.
I'm like, it's the fact that she would say, oh, nah, you are not going to have me going crazy. You ain't going to have me crazy like them other bitches you used to deal with. I'm like, she said that. Seriously. I was like, hold up. I'm trying to pleasure you. I thought,
Listen. It's whole, fully formed adult women putting on adult diapers and driving across state lines, chasing other women's husbands because of stuff like that. I'm just saying. I report the news. I do not make it up.
Yeah. And it's crazy because my wife, she was like, I know how you made them girls go crazy. I know why you getting 3 tires slashed and sugar in the tank. I was like, no, listen, come on.
We be on this Clubhouse for the rest of the weekend if you open that can of worms.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna stop right there. But I mean, it's just crazy. Belize, you was talking about stinginess and everything. About hey, you can do me, but I'm not going to do you. And somebody said that even DJ Khaled is like that. He's like, yo, I want my girl to do that, but I ain't doing her. So what's your thoughts?
First of all, don't no fat motherfucker, excuse me, tell me get to talk about what they eat.
Oh my God.
All right, Nicki Minaj even said that in the song. Ain't no fat nigga about to say what they don't eat. So.
I think he just said that just to have something to say. I really don't believe that. He's been with his wife, I don't know how long, and they have how many kids. Man, please. I think it's just something to say just to, he has to have a hit come. Something's coming, and he has to get in the media. We know how the industry works. Say something, especially about sex, or do something sexual to get people to listen to you or come to your page to engage with you, to go from there. I think that's really what that was about. I don't believe it. I just don't.
Yeah, we see it.
Controversy sells.
Yeah, remember when Jada came out with the entanglement? Oh my God. Everybody was on
controversy
that.
Controversy sells.
Oh, Right. And me and you talking about the whole thing with Jada and Will. They are two of the best in the industry. Why would we believe them when they are the best? Acting is their thing. Y'all, please don't believe them.
Do.
Yeah.
It's what they do. And they're well-known swingers. Well-known.
Listen.
Industry.
He was well aware. I think he knew about it. I don't care what nobody say.
Going off the topic, but, you know, but I also agree because he's a West Philly cat. I'm a South West Philly cat. He wasn't about to be blackmailed. So before you tell my story, I'm going to tell it.
That part.
Yeah.
And let us control the narrative. They know how it works. Let it be on our platform where we get paid based off our lifestyle.
Before you come up on something that we all know happened, I ain't want to be blackmailed either. It's a West Philly thing right there, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm happy they made money off their own story. It makes sense.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to go into the whole thing about sex toys. What's y'all's views on sex toys?
What'd you say? Sex what?
Sex toys.
Why not?
Yeah. So I just want to know what's everybody's view, because a lot of people feel as though that, you know, with the whole I look at it like this: the sex toy industry has blown up. And the one thing about it is that, you know, a lot of times, one of the reasons why I wanted to have this room and this discussion is because a lot of people, you know, due to illness, due to certain conditions, that they can't have sex the traditional way. So a lot of people now, they are, you know, going into sex toys. And I never thought that I would see the day that people have sex dolls. I was watching a documentary about this guy. He was like, he has like a collection of sex dolls, and he was saying that if a woman wants to really get with him, he wants a girlfriend. But he was saying that if in order for her to really, you know, accept him, she has to accept the fact that he has these sex dolls. And I mean, it was a whole room full of them.
So I think I'm gonna say I think there's a line in there between, and again we doing a little bit of projecting here. There's a line between acceptable behavior and where it gets a little bit weird. Like for example. Like I won't say every woman, a lot of women, especially when y'all single, y'all got that drawer by your bed, right? If you're a single dude, you date a woman, you being newsy one day, and she in the bathroom looking at the drawer, you're gonna see some shit in there, right? So I think it's okay, man. This is how I look at sex toys, masturbation. That is one of the oldest things. Like none of us, for what it's worth, had to be taught how to masturbate.
Yeah.
So even in primate animals, they do it. Even in like everything that has a sentient soul on this planet does self-gratification.
Yep.
Now, I don't know how religious people, that's not my department, teach their kids about is it normal or not normal. I think that growing up with that Catholic background, we were taught that it was like the worst thing you could do, and that's where I knew I couldn't quite fit in here. I'm like, wait a minute, I ain't asked to be here. And now that I'm here and I have life, everything I walk on this planet, like, especially when you're about 12 years old, as a 12-year-old boy, you want everyone. If the wind blows right, you have ugly-ass teachers in school, you still want them, but you have no control on it. That's hormonal. Like, you're maturing, your body's maturing in the way that it was designed to mature to become a man. So it's not that the sex is what you want, it's just the hormone. So to teach somebody that masturbation is dirty and wrong, that's going again. That's where we talk about that control, and no one, and that's not how you should be talking to kids, or not kids, but young adults. They need to know that it is perfectly okay, because as you move into adulthood, you can see people who are comfortable with their own body. And how else you gonna learn your own body if you ain't never touched it? And then
that part.
And let's look at it from a health standpoint. Like, I'm so in tune with my body. I know right now at 43 years old, if some shit don't look right or smell right, I need to go see the doctor. Like, how you need to be so wired to your body to know, like, wait a minute, that ain't supposed to look like that, right? And so we start talking about dolls and performance-enhancing drugs, as we'll call it. Why not? I mean, really, there's a line in there. Now, I would say if you're a woman and you got you have an S&M dungeon in your basement, maybe that's not something you lead in on the first date. You know, I mean, everything don't have to be so transparent. If you're a dude and you got a collection of dolls, that ain't something you lead in on the first date, because that's going to be some red flags too. I think it's concerning if you have a whole lot of toys and you get used to pleasuring yourself with a toy, because then no human is going to be able to compete with a toy.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's just not. So if you become so accustomed to a certain toy making that work, then I mean you might want to bring in a human every now and then to keep it regular, because no human is going to be able to hit that spot that right way.
Yeah. We're looking at the extremes. We can almost say that with pornography. Can we say that with pornography? We
can.
Absolutely.
Like some women feel as though that they can't compete with that, and I've heard that. I've heard some religious women say, like, you know, I wasn't going to compete with that. I'm not going to be competing with these porn stars.
But is porn enough for women? Do y'all think that if your man has a porn collection, that in and of itself is bad? Because I was in the military.
No.
When we deployed, we got terabytes of porn.
Yeah, it's not that. I think for me, my experience has been the disconnection during sex with men who have who rely on pornography or other methods to get off, right? When they get with a woman, what you're doing with them, they're so desensitized to just this human interaction that they're disconnected, and the sex just ends up not being good. Yeah. Right? It's taking too long. They're distracted. They need to turn the porn on. And it's kind of like, I think you need to take a break before you come see me. And, you know, I had a long distance relationship where that was actually the case. You know, and the time between when we were seeing each other was just too long. And he was relying on porn. And I was like, well, I'll hold up and let it build up and wait until he comes. But when he would get to town or we get together, it was a problem. And so once I kind of tuned into what was going on, I said, hey, you know, a couple of days before our trip, just don't jack off, don't watch porn, don't do any of that. Just leave it alone so that you can actually perform in your natural state. And that actually worked. So I don't personally have a problem with it. But if it starts to interfere with performance between him and I, oh yeah, then me and the porno is gonna fight.
Yeah. Okay, I totally get that. Let me give you some applause. So I'm gonna go here. When should you initiate the whole thing with oral sex if you're dating a person? Because I know some people were like, you know, I'm gonna wait like a month before I
Hell
do it.
no, you bring that out the first time.
Right. As soon as you say it's okay to have regular sex, you can have oral sex.
Listen, I'm 43 damn years old. I show up to the table with my power move, with my back. I can't.
Well, I think Alicia actually posted something like that, like, oh, it's good enough, it's clean enough or whatever to go in your vagina, but you won't put it in your mouth. You know, it's kind of like, what?
No, I've had that conversation with some guys about eating women or having oral sex on a woman. I'm like, you'll kiss a woman in her mouth with your tongue, and statistically, the mouth is the nastiest part of the body, of anybody's, because we put your hands in your mouth. Your mouth is so nasty that if you bit somebody, and they teach you this in hand-to-hand combat, if you bite somebody, more often than not, that wound will get infected. Because your mouth is just full of bacteria and enzymes. It's designed to be like that. So everybody don't need to go get mad now and gargle after this. But if you're going to kiss somebody in their mouth and you're not going to put their sexual instrument in there, I don't see, and you're going to say it because it's not clean, then I'm like, yeah. Then maybe you might want to look back who you're doing and who you're experiencing things with.
Yeah.
But again, when is it too soon to talk about it, man? Listen, at 43, you need to show up to the table with your A game, because I'm bringing my A game. I don't have time for. Well, I want to get to know you. If we need to get to know each other, then we need to that we don't need to be doing this.
Yeah. Let me just say this, and I'm gonna go to pop culture, because I was looking at a Chris Rock special, and he was saying, you know, gave the monologue during his performance. He was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna suck his dick. I'm gonna suck his dick." Talking about a woman, a girlfriend. Oh, I'm gonna suck his dick this month. But I'm going to wait 3 months before I lick his balls. I'm thinking to myself, like, you got to be kidding me, for real? And it's crazy because it's like, you can be good, but it's almost like you can't be too good. It's almost like you can't put too much out at once. But I'm like, but I thought we supposed to bless each other. So I mean, it's just a lot. You know, it's just a lot.
I mean, it's the stigma against women again, right? Yeah. Like, if I'm too good at sex, you know, I'm judged by it. If I do too many wild and adventurous things in the bedroom, then I'm not wife material.
Yeah.
Right. And so no woman wants to enter in. Well, not no woman. Some women would prefer not to enter into a relationship where they're immediately judged in that way.
Yeah.
And so they piecemeal it all. They're okay. Well, I've known her for a week. I can do this now. Okay, now let me pull out this trick out the bag. And it's kind of, I mean, it's stupid, but the reality is that men judge women and other women judge other women based on their sexuality and things that they're willing to do. And it's, so that's the response you get.
Yeah.
Do women judge men though? Do y'all like judge other men? Like, girl, that nasty motherfucker did this. I just met him.
With me, no. I'll be like, what? Thank you, God. No,
I'm with you, Joy.
Right. The social construct says you're supposed to be good in bed, right?
Yeah.
When we judge you is when you're whack, when you don't have, get oral sex, when you're, a 2-minute man or whatever the case is, or you're too small, or all these silly things. It's like you are supposed to come to the table with your A game, but we're not allowed to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Preach. Amen, Walls.
That's so true, Joy. That is absolutely true. We're expecting men to do everything, but women just like baby, like throwing out crumbs to try to lead him to the ring. I really think that really is. I'm crumbing him to lead him to the ring. I'm not going to give him everything until he commits to me forever. And I think it's just something that's been taught. I truly do. I think it's just been we've been. Sex has been based off what we learned over the years. Somebody told you this, somebody told you that, and then you come up with your own way of how to do it in your own life to get the benefits that you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you this. Has there ever been a time where we can actually say, okay, it's the whole thing was sexual manipulation? Because I've seen people in relationships, you get the candy shop, but then as soon as you say I do, or as soon as you commit, then it's like, I ain't doing that no more. I got you now. So can we talk about that?
I think you and I talked about that before. It's so interesting because I'm one of those women that's like, I don't think I've ever had that problem. But the reality is, I think I don't know how much of it is intentional manipulation, right? It could be subtle manipulation because it's just how your subconscious works. But I think once you get into the relationship, there's so many other things that have to be handled. Yeah. And this might sound like an excuse, especially from a woman's point of view, but just to offer it into the conversation, there's so many things that happen and that's going on that you now become responsible for. I think because sex is something that people think they can put off, that they put it off. But of course, there's going to be folks who use it as a weapon, and I don't like those kind of people because I'm not the wife or the woman who's going to be upset and deprive you, right? Like, I'm mad, let's do it, we'll talk about it tomorrow, So maybe someone who's had that experience can speak to it intelligently, but I definitely think it's the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah. Let me just add this to it. What about, when you have certain women that say, well, I'm only going to do this, I'm only going to do certain things unless I'm married. Like, it's some women that be like, I am not giving no nigga no anal until we say I do. I've heard it. I'm serious.
Absolutely.
I've heard it. So I'm like,
me and my friend just had that conversation the other day.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we just had that. I mean, it's so crazy because I didn't know she even done it before. So for me, it was really funny. But she was like, the only reason she said that is because she said she had an experience with the guy. And she said, I didn't know how to control my emotions or how great it felt. So she didn't want to do it with somebody where she didn't see if it was going to be long term. And she couldn't get this consistently. So she didn't want to continue to get this type of pleasure with somebody where it's like, I don't even know if we're going to be together tomorrow. I want to do this with someone that I know you're not going nowhere, and I can get this when I want it, how I want it more. So I don't think it's always about I'm waiting to marriage. It's more of I probably had a little experience about it, or I already had somebody told me how it kind of like quote unquote turned her out, and that's what she said. I don't want to get turned out, and I said, lie, I've been married, and that's what I was really introduced, and I said, ooh, this is great, ooh Lord, so it was like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Like, I know I can get this from you, and we're not going anywhere. And some people like simply don't want to do that with everybody. It's like, I want to know we're committed, and this is where we're going to be, and I can do it with you safely. I can trust you, communication here and things of that nature.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Let me give you some applause.
Hey, sis, you talked about something that we said earlier. It comes down to communication for real, about when you want to do something is kind of between you and the person you're sharing that experience with. But ultimately, it does come down to communication, and there's no rule that says you have to feel on the first time, you have to feel so open and honest with them. And there's no rule that says you got to wait 367 days to try something new. It's just about that communication aspect, I think, is really the thing that's lacking in a lot of people's interactions.
I agree with you 100%. Go ahead, Joy. I know you wanted to say something.
No, I was actually going to piggyback off of what Earl said. The communication, though, if you think about it, is still impacted by the societal pressures, right? So, at 43, having had several boyfriends, and I'm definitely not a virgin. My sexual experiences, they start adding up, and then when we hear men talk about us, it's, oh well, you're used up, your value has dropped because all of these different men have entered you, or you have a child, right? So I think when women get to the point where they start taking sex things off the table sexually, it's because they're thinking, man, if I go any further, this guy is not going to marry me, right? And again, it's not, it doesn't make any sense, but if you think of it from that perspective, it does.
I like that. That makes a whole lot of sense, because it's like, it's the whole thing about our communities. We judge our women differently than we do our men. It's like, like I talked about Wilt Chamberlain. We did a Clubhouse on what makes a woman easy. And we talked about Wilt Chamberlain. And nobody would dare call Wilt Chamberlain a hoe. But if a woman has too many partners, just like you said, the value goes down. She's labeled this and labels, the inaccuracies and everything that comes with it. Because it's almost like, we can't help but go there, because we tell our sons, if you're a mother, you tell your son, oh yeah, this is the type of girl you need to watch out for. And fathers too. But you hardly ever hear anything about these are the type of boys you need to watch out for.
Right. And to Belisa's point earlier too, sometimes, there are certain things you don't just want to do with everybody. Yeah. Right. And again, I don't even know that that's specific to just a woman and how she wants to move through life. I think that also is attached to a man, right? Yeah, it's like, I don't want to do it with everyone that I'm with, because by the time, if I ever get a husband, I'd like to have something new and special and fresh that I can share with him. Yeah. So, it's a lot of different ideals that's feeding into those thought processes that we have about how we carry our bodies and what we do sexually.
I agree, Joy. I have men say, I ain't giving every girl oral. I'm just not going to do it. And I understand where he's, and I ask why and they explain it. So I respect that. I think, like he was, most of us are all saying together, it's about communication. I think that's what's lacking within sex. And I stress it all the time. You want to do certain things, or you don't want to do certain things, but you're not communicating. And most people are so scared to communicate. But I think I'm the youngest one on here. I feel like when you get to a certain age bracket, you don't care and you communicate. But I feel like we have most of our sexual experiences when we're younger, and we lack the communication when we're younger. But when you get to a certain age, it's totally different. I think it should be communication. As soon as you start having sex, or even before you have sex, somebody is teaching you or telling you, or among us telling us, it's important to talk about your needs. It's important to talk about what you like. It's important to say you don't know nothing about that, or you're kind of scared to do that, or things of that nature, and be okay with talking about it, other than waiting, which I'm learning most of my loved ones who are over 40 are starting to say, man, I don't care. I'm going to say what I need to say. But I feel like that happens over time. But I feel like that needs to be, that same freeness and communication and knowing who you are needs to also start to get really much developed when you're younger, because you do so much then.
Yeah, exactly. Let me give you some applause. So let me ask this question, and I'm gonna just throw a whole lot of things in one box. Do you think that oral sex, sex toys, anal sex, is that like a generational thing?
How do you mean generational?
Meaning basically like, okay, you got the younger generation, they be down for that. But you got certain generations, it's like, we ain't never do that. I don't know where you're coming from with that, young man.
I think it's more open. I think something happened somewhere, we'll say, going about the sexual revolution of the 60s made it more open. I'm 43, so that's still a little bit older than me. But if any of us who have teenagers know, if you listen to how your teens, and I'm not saying you listen with the intent to like get in their business, but the overview so you know what's going on. There are a lot of women or girls in high school now who saving their vagina for marriage because of the whole purity of chast, but they've had anal sex and oral sex since they were like in 10th grade. Whereas I don't know if girls were doing that in high school, but it wasn't talked about. Yeah. But we all know, because we discussed earlier, that the concepts of anal sex, oral sex, masturbation, those aren't new concepts that just created with our heathen ass. Yeah. So I think as society moves more open, I think just generationally, people in the group 25 and under are probably doing it, but the problem is that they're not talking to older people about it. So pretty much it's a bunch of 20-year-olds trying to teach each other on some shit that maybe some adults should be having these conversations. I forgot who came in with the speaker talking about we don't talk about the black community, STDs and STIs enough. Exactly. Like, the concept of STIs isn't new, but we don't talk amongst our kids just how much the reality is. Like, notice, like, I've had to have conversations with my teenagers about that. Like, hey, man, we teach you not to have kids before marriage, and that's cool, too. You don't want it. But, hey, man, there's other shit going on out here that besides kids.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy you said that. I think the thing is, I think we need to stop using pregnancy and STIs as a fear, a scare tactic, and just let us know that when you do have sex, stop saying like they never will, and stop kind of like pushing them not to do it because you know they will in your face or without, or tell you or don't tell you. I feel like we should just let them know with sex, this is what the great things that can happen, and these are things that can come out of it. And regardless of whatever comes out of it, you can deal with it. And I think so long we're like, oh, you get pregnant, it's the end of your life. Now we all know that's a lie. Yeah. And you get an STD, it's the end of your, we all know that's a lie. But we keep pushing it that way. And now when people are like, well, I want to have the great part of it, I can't deal with the negative. And a lot of us are pushing the negative first and not understanding, like, not just saying that sex is a good thing. You're going to want to do it one day. I want to tell you all about it. I want to tell you, if you want to introduce yourself to something new, if you don't want to introduce, how to be safe, if this happened to you. But I think we just keep pushing the negative, like first, or kick you in the face and say, if you do that, then you're this and you're that. That people is kind of just like, I want to veer away from it. So I think we really need to just make sex a more of a collective of this is what happens within the sex world. When you enter this could be possibly happy, this possibly not happen. Other than saying this is this and this is that. I think it just had been separated for so long that, and I hear it all the time. I have tons of people who come to me about their diagnosis about herpes or STIs or anything, and they feel like their life is over because of our language pertaining to people who have STIs, or our language towards people who have children before marriage or have sex before marriage. The language is causing people to feel a certain type of way that they change their behavior in a sense pertaining to sex, or how they look at sex from that point. Or people who have heard those things prior to having sex, like, oh, I ain't gonna be that girl, or bro, I ain't gonna be that bro. Like, I'm not gonna experience that type thing. But I feel like you kind of hard not to experience certain things when we're not talking about it, and also you don't know all the information about it to kind of prevent it. So we're like, we got a lot of potholes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I just want to jump in really quick because I have to log off the call. Okay. I think it's a great conversation, and I think around the last topic that we're talking about, as long as we continue to create safe spaces where people are comfortable to share, and we're willing as a generation above or below to share our experiences and the knowledge that we've acquired, not necessarily as a truth or a lie, but just as an experience, then we'll start to close the gap on a lot of these issues. But thank you guys for having me. I will be back the next time. Keep the conversation flowing, and I'm out.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Joey. Let me give you some applause.
Thank you. I'll see you guys later.
All right. Okay, so I want to start wrapping the room up, but I want to go into a little bit of pop culture, because I don't know if you ever saw that Chris Rock special kill the messenger. And at the end of his, like before the end of the concert, he was saying, spitters are quitters. And then he was saying that half of the women are grossed out, but the other half are in loving relationships. So, I mean, it was crazy because it was, I mean, the way that he just ended. And then he dropped the mic. And
it was snarkily ironic.
Yeah, yeah. And then you saw the credits that some of the women would say, yeah, we're some of the women in loving relationships. It's like, really? So I just want to talk about, man, the pleasures and the benefits of oral sex the right way and everything. So you know, is he hitting the nail on the head with that? About loving relationships?
I remember that. It was funny. And it was funny because there's so much truth in it.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of the reason why it was funny.
Yeah.
But it's the whole to spit or not to spit, that is the question.
Yeah.
Like, it's just another one of those things that you get to draw the lines around.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, you get to say how you have sex with people.
Yeah.
Whatever boundaries make you comfortable, you have the right to those.
Yeah.
And you have the right not to be talked out of them.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to renegotiate your boundaries, that needs to be a decision that you make on your own for yourself, not because you feel obligated to do it for your partner because they're trying to pressure you into it. Now, that's aside from the whole consideration of trauma and molestation and that's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, all other things being even, your sexual boundaries are yours and you have a right to them.
Yeah.
And nobody has a right to engage your body in any way that you aren't comfortable with. So sex is often talked about and thought of as something that's done to women. It's very rarely talked about or thought about as something done with women.
Yeah.
And until we make that shift, a lot of the boundaries that women have are probably going to be more restrictive instead of less.
Yeah.
If she continues to feel unsafe, or if she feels as if she's being discounted, overlooked, neglected, or objectified for the sake of his pleasure and her pleasure isn't being considered, then there's going to be a very different conversation with that woman.
Yeah.
She's just not going to be as willing to be as giving and as open or receptive as a woman who does feel safe, who does feel like she's an equal partner in this exchange.
Exactly.
That she feels like is being done with her and not to her.
Yes. Yes.
So the whole idea of spitting or not spitting is really, it's very individual.
Okay.
You know, some women do it and because they enjoy it. Some women do it out of a sense of fear because they think if they don't do it, that there's some sort of a negative consequence waiting for her.
Yeah.
It's a much deeper topic than will she or won't she.
Yeah. Yeah,
just
exactly.
like any other sexual boundary.
Exactly.
There's just a bunch of other things that have to be considered.
Yeah.
It's like, do men enjoy it more when you swallow? Probably.
Yeah.
That's definitely the prevailing thought.
I'm just happy.
That's the prevailing idea. It's like the holy grail of oral sex is to get her to swallow. I don't know. You know, like I get that. I get that's the narrative. I get it.
I would think,
you know.
So, I don't know if that's like the end you go for, to swallow or spit. I really don't know. I think a lot of men, it might be a control aspect of that, like a power thing. I know that's a very vulnerable position anytime a man comes from any type of sex, right?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, be professional, ejaculate, right? That's a very vulnerable position for that man. Men, by society standpoint, we're really not socialized to be vulnerable in much anything. So there's a certain amount of vulnerability to be had by that man in that moment and the moments afterwards. So I think there's a little bit more of an intimacy assigned with oral sex if the man is receiving, just because it's not normal, or not. I won't say not normal. It's not how we're supposed to do this. So the intimacy there is more, and so it could be a sense of some sort of vulnerability mixed with control. Like, I think one of y'all had said, like, you got to be careful bringing out your tricks the day one, because you don't want somebody to get crazy over you.
Yeah.
Well, in that moment for a man, if he's coming from oral sex, you're doing it. You pretty much have control. You are in control of that as the woman. Like, if he is never, even if he's one of these type A, borderline sociopath, abusive motherfuckers, at that very moment, you are in control.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I think my thing is now is like, you know, we got to come into a partnership, into a harmony. And I'm looking at the fact of, you know, if we're married, if we're in a really good committed relationship, it's like, yo, I got you. She got me, I got her, and you know, we come to agreement of this is how we gonna flow. And I love seeing that, because it's like, you know, I ain't gonna judge her, she ain't gonna judge me. You know, she loves every aspect about me, I love every aspect about her. Now, granted, you know, when it comes to certain things, I try to make it good for her. So that if it means, you know, I'm gonna shower up or use the Dove soap, shave a little bit so it make it better, I'm good. We'll
no, not the Dove.
No, I'm just saying, take a shower and then shave and make it all smooth and stuff. Like, yo, I don't want her to be hindered in any type of way. But you know, I love it, and I love the fact, because even coming from a Christian perspective, I like to play with the scriptures. I tell, you know, give and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall be given to your bosom.
All right, Reverend.
So I'm like, so like I was like, yo, give and it shall be given. And also I take the scriptures and I'm like, bring all the tithes and offerings into my house, that there may be meat in my house. You know,
okay, Apostle.
We going, you know, and the Lord will pour out a blessing that you will not have room enough to receive.
Is he gonna pour it out?
Yeah.
Is that what he's gonna do?
He's gonna pour it out. He's gonna pour it out.
The Song of Solomon again. There it goes.
Yeah, but even in Proverbs, it says, you know, that thy fountain will be blessed, be ravished by your wife's breasts. So I'm like, man, please, the Bible does talk about sex, but it's people that jack it all up. You know what I mean? I'm like, come on, man. God gives us all things richly to enjoy. If God is giving me a wife, I'm going to enjoy her from head to toe. And ain't no nigga going to tell me otherwise. I'm telling you. I'm like, man, get out of here. Get out of my bedroom.
Absolutely.
I wish there was like an applause button.
I got one.
Not mad at you, Reverend.
You need to applaud yourself.
That's right.
But I think my thing now is that, you know, we got to talk about these issues, because I'm tired of the narrative being only controlled by media, being controlled by other means other than ourselves. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like everybody, you know, controls the narrative of sex except us. You know, controlled by media, it's controlled by white males. And I'm like, come on, man, something got to change.
Yeah, and I would tell anybody, especially if you have teenagers, this is why I talk with my kids. I mean, it's age appropriate, but it's probably more than how some of the other parents, because if I don't talk to my kids, they're going to learn from their stupid ass friends and rap music. Yeah. And they're going to learn the wrong part of some of the best things.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, and I don't really do the double standard language in my house with my sons and my daughters. I teach them, like what you said earlier. I don't teach them not to have sex. I teach them when you are having sex, I really need to know, because I need to know, because there's things going out there that you don't know. This isn't a discussion like, how could you let me down? Because one day you're going to have sex.
Yeah.
And I'm mindful of both my son and my daughter's sexuality with respect to one's a hoe and one's not. I'm like, you're a hoe if you conduct yourself as a hoe. That's what makes you a hoe. And when I say by that, it's like how you carry yourself, not sexually, as a person. You're a good person or not a good person. I don't really push religion on my kids, but they understand Daddy's a Buddhist, and they understand through my Buddhism, I try to teach them that balance. Like, you just need to own your truth. Wherever you are, you need to still love yourself in the morning.
Yeah.
So if that means you one of people like you'd like to have a lot of sex, or you have multiple partners, you still have a responsibility yourself to be safe and to love yourself in the morning. And if you're one of those people, you're a little bit more reserved, and you pride yourself that you're my age and you've only had 2 partners, that ain't me. But also love yourself enough to where there's no issues and self-conscious behind that. Because like you said, that's where the problem comes in. People begin to view themselves negatively, then it leads them to like some of the worst and reckless behavior.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. You're a great dad. Like, we need more. I think the thing is, and it's something I'm noticing about you, you came to a place of understanding who you are. And I think that's the thing that most people need to understand, who you are, and then also who you are within your sex life. I think some people's like, oh, it's the same thing. Yes and no, because I feel like, once again, like we're talking like, everybody controls what sex looks like, what it feels like, what you should do, whatever. But you have to kind of collectively figure out what sex looks like for you and you alone. And I feel like when you get to that point, then the conversations come a little bit easier to you. You're not very much control what people think and what they feel, and how you live your life is how you live life. Like, and like you said, you get up and you feel good about yourself, and it's not about a good girl or a bad guy type thing, because I hear it all the time. But I'm a good person, and I just told a young lady, it ain't about being a good person. Sex just comes with sex. It just, that's what comes with the territory. And I feel like if we kind of get out of that good person, bad person thing, and just realize sex is sex, and things happen, whatever happens, we can overcome it and we'll be fine, then I think we'll be in a better place. But I think it's just so many people thinking of a good person, bad person, and they kind of don't know who they are in their sex life. It's kind of like, I kind of don't know how to go about this, because I just don't, because of lack of communication with among themselves, but also just allow other people to control it, or not having anybody to kind of let them know that it's okay to define what it's going to be for you.
I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. Define what it's going to be for you. I like that. I like that.
Taking that a little step further, defining what it's going to look like in your relationship. The problem is, people are afraid to talk to their spouse, their significant other, and coming from a person that dated somebody for 4 years, long distance, and moved into the same state, then we had to have another kind of conversation. But we couldn't be afraid to have the conversation on what it looks like now, because just like we're growing as people, sexually, we're still going to continuously grow as we learn and become one more and more in different circumstances. So just being able to have that conversation and being comfortable having that conversation. And my wife and I do it like this. We ask the why question. So if it's something I want to do or I like, and she's like, no, my response to that no is why, and then we'll have a whole conversation around the why. And again, you uncover some truth that one don't even understand or know where it even came from. And once that is off the table, you're now opening up something where one or both of you could be opened up to another, experiment or another way or another suggestion to spark up your sex life.
I like
it's
that.
just about communication. But that's why.
I agree. I like that, because I look at it, we can always come to a compromise on certain things. We can always
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I look at
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I have a question to all of you. How do you feel like the conversation should go? Because I get this all the time. How should I have the conversation? I'm scared to have the conversation. I don't know how to initiate the conversation. It's not like they don't want to have it. They don't know how to initiate it, and they don't know how to deal with the pushback that comes with it. Because I tell a lot of my ladies, I said, some guys are just not used to women talking to them about certain things. So you may get what you asking that for? Don't take that what you asking that for as a place to stop. It's a more of a, okay, he never hurt anybody or had this conversation, so he's kind of stunned. How to get over those little hurdles that come within the conversation. Because I don't think that, a lot of people are not having the conversation. They hit a hurdle, they hit a trigger, they hit a roadblock, and they don't know how to keep going with the conversation, like you said, with you and your wife. Y'all, you go with the why, but something happened where y'all knew a why was okay. Or when the why came, did you deal with a pushback, and how did you overcome that pushback with that why?
Being able to be comfortable with yourself and understanding it's a respect thing. If your partner or spouse wants to shut down a conversation that is going to be pleasing to you and both of you, that's a lack of respect right there. And that's a whole nother issue. But when you keep the respect there and you say, hey, this is bothering me, or this is something that we need to get past, and there's respect there, you can get past it, but you can't hand somebody respect. You got to, number one, respect yourself enough to say, I deserve what I'm asking for, or I deserve to be pleased. I deserve to be gratified and satisfied. And if you don't have that within yourself, you're going to always get cut down by somebody who doesn't respect your way of feeling or thinking. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Does anybody else want to answer?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Ms. Belize's question. Does anybody else want to add to it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think it's best to talk about sexual things outside of the bedroom.
Yes, please.
If it's something new, especially. Because trying to have a full-blown discussion in the heat of the moment just usually turns out badly. You know, it's not that it's necessarily wrong in and of itself. It just typically doesn't work very well. When people are under the influence of their own arousal, they don't think well. So it's not a real good time to be trying to have a full-blown conversation. But outside of the bedroom, if you're talking to your mate and you bring up an idea, maybe it's just a thought that you had. Maybe it's something you dreamt about. Maybe it's something you were talking about with one of your friends. Maybe it's something you saw in a magazine. Whatever it is, however it came about, if it's introduced into a conversation like, you know what, babe, I was reading this thing, or I saw this thing, or I heard this thing, and it sounds like fun. You want to try it with me? And then just shut up and wait for him to answer.
Yeah.
And be okay with whatever he says. Because whatever you do sexually has to be mutual. It has to be mutual to be sustainable and to be mutually satisfying. You both have to agree to it. So if you ask, just shut up and let him answer, and then be okay with whatever he says. But definitely outside of the bedroom is usually better. And very casually. Like, don't make a big deal out of it. You know, over ice cream.
That's good.
Over, you know, even on the drive home. On the drive is usually pretty good because you don't have to look at each other. And that kind of takes some of the pressure off for some people.
Yeah.
So that might be a good time to bring it up too. But definitely just keep it casual and lightweight. And be sure to allow room for the responses. Don't answer your own questions.
Oh, come on. Don't answer your own questions. I like
that. Let me give you some applause. I like that.
Hey,
thank you, sir.
I think you highlighted something that we're all saying, but we didn't say it. That's really intimacy. Like, we've been talking about sex a lot because we're focused on what is the physical representation of intimacy. But to be able to have those kind of conversations, and it doesn't mean, and we often think intimacy like romance, you know, fireworks, dates at midnight on the park. I'm talking about usually a connection that happens when you're friends with somebody where you can talk. And it's like when we were younger, we were told, like, what I think the old folks should have been teaching us when they were trying to teach us the wait for sex wasn't the wait for sex because of physical, but because now that we're older, you understand intimacy better than you did at 20.
Yeah.
So because of the intimacy, the communication, you're able to have the conversation, and it's not such a textbook way of answering it, or such a where this feels almost like an examination. You know, two friends are going to talk about everything before they ever cross that bridge anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and also understanding energy. You was that Sister Eden that said something about the bedroom? Take it out of the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because you got to understand the energy flow. So if you're in the heat or the moment of it, you have a certain vibe or you're on a different vibrational frequency, and you come in with an anger point or whatever. Not only do you completely mess up the mode, but you just now overshadowed whatever passion was there, and that energy is now sitting in the room until it's until it's able to be dissipated. And usually that's with something loving or whatever, the opposite of that energy flow that's going on in that moment. So it literally, my wife and I do that. I will jump out the bed and go to the door and say, come here. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have this conversation right here or whatever, but understanding how important setting the stage of your energy in your bedroom.
Yeah, because you can say the wrong thing and kill the whole moment. I'm like, dang. I'm serious. You can say the wrong thing at the wrong time and kill the whole moment. It's like, ooh, never mind. I'm going to go to
Happens
sleep.
all the time.
Yeah. So I want to talk about entitlement. So, here lately, I think the one thing that I've seen, and I watched a video of a young woman. It was Kevin Samuels, and also even prior to him, it was a young lady that she was feeling like because a dude was dating her, and he upgraded her lifestyle, that she felt as though that he was responsible to continue to pay for her lifestyle even after they broke up. So I want to talk about, sexual entitlement. I want to bring in a little bit of pop culture. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie Top 5. And it was a scene in that movie. It was Gabrielle Union and Chris Rock. And she was telling Chris Rock, hey, you owe me because every time, you would come back from a trip, I would suck your dick. And then he said, well, I didn't know we was on a blowjob tally. And so she was like, well, look, I need for you to choose me. I need for the reality people, because she was doing a reality show, I need for them to see you choose me. And so, it goes into the whole thing about entitlement. Does sex, look like that, okay, I'm having sex with this woman. Does that mean I'm entitled or she's entitled for me to sponsor her whole life? Like, because we having sex, I got to pay for this. We having sex, I got to pay for that. I'm paying for her presence. I'm paying for her sexual, her sexual wows and everything like that. The thing that she does, she gratifies me. But does that bring, a sense of entitlement? Because it's almost like, that's the way it's almost like this generation is going. And I'm trying to understand, like, when did we get here?
Hey, we always been there, Brother Leon, because I don't know too many women in my age group that are going to sex you routinely, and they're not getting something. Now, we don't have to say it don't have to be cash or bill paid, but she's going to have a title like the Mrs. Now, I think when we're a lot younger, we sport fuck because we're just kids and we don't know any better. That's men and women.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a transition somewhere after around 35 to 45 where, because it's about my time cost now. So you're not wasting my time. So if we're going to do this and this is all we're going to do, then we're going to call it what it is. But if we're not going to do this and not, it's like, I don't know too many women in my age group that are just going to have routine sex with somebody over and over and there's no transaction involved.
Oh, yeah. Even in my age group, I'm 50. And it's like, some of the women that I've talked to, they're like, I need to be married. I ain't trying to waste my time. They ain't even trying to waste their time talking to people on the phone. They're like, if this dating doesn't have a purpose or this conversation ain't leading to dating or to marriage, don't waste my time. And I totally get it. So you're definitely right on that. So anybody else want to tag in on this? Let's go to another question. What are your thoughts on role playing? If anybody want to tackle that one.
That can be a lot of fun. Role playing can be a whole lot of fun and a great way to add the dimension of newness to a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
It's just a play. It's like opening a new playground.
Yeah.
You get to be these characters and play these roles that you don't in your normal life.
Yeah.
It gives you an opportunity to step outside of yourself, maybe outside of your comfort zone a little bit, and experience each other in a different way, a new way, an unusual way.
Yeah.
and as long as you remain curious about each other, which is a whole different room altogether. As long as you remain curious about each other, it can be a lot of fun and it can add a lot to your relationship.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I can appreciate a woman that wear a wig, because it's like, yo, she can be any woman that you want.
That's why we keep closets of them.
I love it. I love it.
Working on my closet now.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, hey girl,
I gotta start a closet.
Like I'm into the whole superhero thing. So I'm like, let me see if I can get her a Wonder Woman outfit. Let me see if I can find them boots. Let me see if I can find them red boots. Let me see if I can find them red heels.
I'm just saying. Listen, the construction worker is always a favorite. It's like I hear about that one more than a little bit. Construction workers and firefighters, they not going nowhere no time soon.
No, they not. And the maid, oh my God, there's so many sexy maid outfits.
The French maid, oh my God.
The French maid, like, yo, come here, girl. I got some dusting for you.
Oh, and the naughty nurse. Don't forget her.
Yeah, the naughty nurse.
Don't forget her.
And then you got the priest or you got the nun. Like, come here, girl. Let me cast that devil out of you.
You know what? We gonna have to put you on your own altar. That's what we gonna have to do.
Yeah, exactly. Most likely. They're gonna be like, man, yo, Leon, he ain't no pastor. Right after the night. But
you're a hot mess.
But I look at it like, we're supposed to have fun. We're supposed to enjoy each other. That's what I love about the scriptures, because it says God gives us all things richly to enjoy. So, if it's a concept, if it's an idea where my significant other is not going to feel like she's humiliated, then we gonna go at it. I'm like, all right, girl, come on, let's spice this thing up. What you want? How you want me to dress? What you want me to do? What you want to pull out the chocolate, the hot wax, and all that mess? I think probably where I draw the line, I'm like, oh hell no, I am not doing handcuffs. I've been arrested, so sorry. I got a thing with that. I got a thing with that.
It's a bit much. I get it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people. Obviously, there are a lot of people who are into that and a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But again, it just has to be negotiated.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
It just has to be negotiated. There's a whole lot of stuff that people might be agreeable to that you wouldn't believe until you ask them.
Yeah.
And then there's a slightly different aspect to the whole negotiation thing, especially in long-term relationships. People need to be open and willing to renegotiating their sexual contract continually.
Yeah.
And don't fall into the pattern of, we've always done it this way.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to change it now?
Yeah.
Because that creates a whole different set of problems that you need a whole nother room to talk about.
Exactly.
But the sexual contract has to be renegotiated continually. It is a mistake to think that you have your partner all figured out just because you've been with them for a number of years.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, people change. And people's desires change. What works for people over time changes. Hormone levels rise and fall.
Yeah.
Bodies change. Attitudes change. All kinds of things change. So renegotiation has to be constant.
Yeah.
It's not like a conversation that you have at some point and then you never have to have it again. It's a continual conversation.
Yeah. I like that. Let me give you some applause. Because I think the one thing is, a lot of times, and I wrote this in my book, you got to be in tune with your partner, because over time, the whole sexual dynamic changes and everything. And then, you got to know what things to add, what things, to subtract, what things to tweak. Because I look at it, you have that sexual window for a limited amount of time. And then you get to the place where it won't be sex at all. It'll just be y'all loving on each other, y'all still in a relationship because you just there, even though the sex has gone,
Right.
but you stay together because of the love, because of the connection, because of some of the sex and the intimacy
Exactly.
and the affection. So I look at it like this, like, yo, if it means changing some things up, change it up. I'm serious, because I look at it like
Absolutely.
this. If you up here hanging from the chandelier and you up here, you spinning from the pole, after a while, yo, you ain't going to be able to do that. Pretty soon, it's going to be like, ooh, nah, girl, let's get one of them swings, because I don't want you to fall and bust yourself up.
Also, I promise this is the last thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
It is important to understand that our entire bodies are wired for sexual response.
Yeah.
And that when we limit ourselves to our genitals for sexual expression, then we limit our sexuality. And especially when you get to the point where you start talking about injuries or illnesses or even just hormone levels, the change of time, whatever it is, changes in your taste, the activities that you want to participate in, you have to allow space to use your whole body and not just your sex organs.
Yeah.
Because your whole body is wired for response. And if you take the time to explore it, you may discover some things that you didn't expect that were arousing to you in non-genital places. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Since we on Clubhouse and trying to keep it somewhat PG, your whole body is a sexual response system.
Yeah, exactly. You touch a woman back the right way, ooh, don't touch me like that.
Listen, she mess around and fail a pregnancy test. Like, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. So, hey, I want to get ready to bring it on home and everything, because I know time is of the essence. So, if anybody, hey, do you have any words of wisdom when it comes to sex, relationships, lifestyle? Somebody just give us some words of wisdom. I take anybody. Talk to me.
Slow down.
Okay, I like
Stay
that.
Curious. Stay curious and be open.
I like that. I like that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Let me give you some applause. All right, Dr. Harris, can you talk to us? Give us some words of wisdom.
Be honest with yourself so that you can then convey that honesty over to your partner. Be real. Keep it 100 at all times. Be comfortable with yourself. Love yourself, and that will also spill over. Love is one of those things that should be an overflow. It's not who you're with. It's where it comes from. The flow comes from within. It goes without. So if I love myself and I'm honoring myself, I will honor that person that I am with and want to please them in each and every way of their life. It will be a natural thing. I will want to be open. I will want to grow. I will want to stay connected. So just stay open, stay true to yourself, because that is the basis and the foundation for any successful relationship, period.
All right, I like that, Doc. Thank you. Let me give you some applause. All right. Please talk to us. Give us some words of wisdom. You taking us home.
Oh, I think they wrapped it up. They said that's so nice. They said that's so nice, but I'll take it from a place of, I guess, where I am and the people that I deal with. Most importantly, realize that communication is everything. It is everything. And don't always look for the other person to communicate first. You need to want to be first. I feel like sometimes that's just the biggest thing. They should want to talk about this, or this is something we should be talking about, or whatnot, but somebody has to initiate. So be okay with being the initiator. I hear that from women. I'm tired of initiating. Let me be honest with you. Sometimes people just don't know how to have a conversation. It's not that they don't want to have it. They don't know how to initiate. So be okay with the initiating and working through the uncomfortable moments. Don't allow your emotions behind it, or, like was said earlier, answering your own questions. Don't let that be so important that you don't hear out the other person and see what their insight is. You're not in the relationship by yourself. You're not the only one in here having sex. So you need to make sure the communication is clear among both of you guys, and y'all both are satisfied. I feel like if one is not satisfied, then the sex is not good. That's just my motto, especially if we're in a relationship. It's not good. So my whole thing is making sure the communication is there, making sure you're okay to be the first one, because at the end of the day, if you say you care about this relationship, communicate it. Communicate it. and make sure to continue to do that until that person gets to a place where they're like, you know what, I've been wanting to say some stuff too, and you have literally pushed me into a place where it's okay to be first. And I feel like you being for you, if you're communicating first, you just making sure you care about where it's going. Sometimes people just don't know what to do, or they're not taught that, or they're just kind of scared to talk. So my whole thing, if you're not the person scared to talk, well, go ahead, because I'm telling you, they're going to appreciate you in the long run.
All right. I love it. Thank you. I want to thank all you guys for being on here. I know we had some people leave, but I just want to say thank you for coming on the platform and also having this room discussion. So I want to go back again and just have you guys, just say where people can find you at and everything like that on social media. So I'm going to start. Miss Eden Adele, how can people follow you?
You can find me on Facebook at Get Back to Passion, or you can find me on my website also, www.getbacktopassion.com. Come on over and join the conversation.
All right, definitely. Let me give you some applause. All right. Miss Belize, talk to us. How can people follow you? How can people find you if they need some coaching?
All right, if you need some coaching, you go over to my website, www.stdlifecoach.com. From products to courses to YouTube videos, it's all there. Also, if you want to connect with me on social media, reach out to me on Instagram, and that is Coach Belize.
All right, thank you for that. Let me give you some applause. All right, Dr. Harris, how can people follow you? How can people get in contact with you for some coaching?
Absolutely. www.metamorphosisdoctor.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram under my name, Dr. Danny L. Harris, or Dr. Danny Lee Harris, on all the platforms. But if you go to my website, you will find my link tree, which has all of my social connections on it.
All right. Thank you for that, Doc. All right, so I just want to say thank you. Thank you guys for coming on here, and I so appreciate you. So now we're getting ready to end this room, and I just want you guys to just have a blessed day. So, hey, I love you guys. Thank you for coming on. We're going to end this room right now. All right, so, hey, listeners, that is our Clubhouse for today. We talked about the taboos of sex, and I want you guys, hey, man, look, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, just hit me up on social media. You can hit me up on Instagram. You can hit me up on Facebook. But I want you guys to understand and know we have this conversation because we need to know. We need to know, what are the complexities? What are some of the things that we're having problems in? Because the one thing about it is that when you look at the narrative of sex, when you look at some of the things that we are ignorant to, ignorance means darkness. And whenever you have darkness, you're going to fall, you're going to trip. There's going to be enemies that lie in the dark that are going to be successfully against you because you can't see. But when you have light, when you have understanding, you can successfully defeat ignorance. You can defeat the enemies that are trying to hinder and stop your life and stop your flow. So the one thing that I want you to understand is that God has given us all things richly to enjoy. Sex. We got to begin to take that narrative back from pornography. We got to begin to take that narrative back from the devil. We got to begin to take that narrative back from other people. And we begin to reclaim it ourselves. Because when it comes to your sexual identity, nobody should control the narrative of that. Nobody should ever control your identity. And I want you guys to be blessed. I want you guys to be free. So yeah, we was transparent. Yeah, we did talk a little gully. But I want you to understand that sometimes it takes a little bit of shock value to get you to sober up because we've been in ignorance too long. And that's the God knows truth. So with that being said, guys, I love you. I want you to be blessed. And we are definitely going to go into this whole thing. Next season is going to be coming up. We're going to be doing a lot of things in the next season of the Brother Leon Show. So we're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about a whole lot of things because I want us to be free. And we're going to talk about finances as well. Because the one thing that breaks up couples a lot is communication, sex, money, and kids. So we're going to focus on that in season 3 of the Brother Leon Show. But I want you guys to be blessed, and we're going to go there.
Walk in the truth that makes you free every day. Follow Brother Leon on all social media outlets.